Part 64. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 631. He Hongmei had two classmates who were lovers in college. After they graduated, one was assigned to a wood carving factory in Dongyang and the other to a foreign trade company in Jiashan County. The two worked for less than a year before they stopped working. Returned to Hangzhou. When they arrived in Hangzhou, people like them who had voluntarily resigned from their units had stains on their files, so naturally no unit would recruit them again. They had no choice but to rent a stall at the Huanbei small commodity market, where they specialized in designing and making various hats, including straw, bamboo, rattan, canvas, linen and leather hats. But because it is handmade, the price is very expensive. Compared with the hats mass-produced in Yuwu and Wenzhou factories, it is not competitive at all. In addition, the Huanbei small commodity market originally sells cheap goods. They live here. It can only be that business is slow. After Zhang Chen and He Hongmei went to see it, they felt that their products were very good, creative, and very individual. He Hongmei suggested that they be included as a cooperative brand with the same conditions as for Hall, and Zhang Chen agreed. Those two classmates simply quit their stalls in the market and made all kinds of hats for them at home. Sales increased and their expenses were reduced by more than half. Zhang Chen suggested that they consider selecting some of the linen materials used in their factory as raw materials for hats. The hats made in this way would match their clothing. They accepted Zhang Chen's suggestion, and the effect was indeed good. They and a Yang also cooperated with each other, that is, if the hats they designed were made of leather, they were simply handed over to a Yang to make them, and they also began to design and make some bags made of linen and cotton fabrics. These two classmates of He Hongmei introduced them to another person who also set up a stall in the Huanbei small commodity market. It was said that he was from the Zhejiang American printmaking department. He screen-printed cultural shirts and t-shirts and sold them in the market. He also had a business very difficult. The reason is that his patterns are either too elegant and cannot be accepted by the people who go to that market. He occasionally compromises with the market and designs some patterns that look like they should be marketable. But when he wakes up, the whole market is selling cheaper than him. Half of them, he could only stare. Following the guidance of a friend, the man from Zhejiang America took a dozen sample clothes and went to the factory to find Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen liked them very much and wanted to invite him to join. Summer is coming soon, and t-shirts and cultural t-shirts are really what they lack, and they can be used to match their clothes. But this guy didn't have a brand of his own, so Zhang Chen decided to license the Xiaomei trademark to him for free, but there was one requirement: your stuff couldn't be bad, and you couldn't buy clothes that cost 3 or 5 yuan. Come and print. Of course Old Tang said. He called himself Old Tang when he entered the house, and was actually about the same age as Zhang Chen. If I were willing to ruin myself, I wouldn't be in such a miserable mess. Zhang Chen nodded and said, there is another requirement. If you want to join us, your products can no longer be sold in Huanbei. To be more precise, they cannot be sold in any market because our trademark cannot enter the market. This must be your only distribution channel. Okay, I don't want to stay in that broken market for a long time. Okay, you already know the other conditions anyway, so I won't go into details. I'll just sign a cooperation agreement later. So, it's a deal? Old Tang asked. Zhang Chen smiled and said, it's a deal. Great, I'm finally going to get ahead. I've heard a long time ago that your sales here are huge, Old Tang exclaimed excitedly. Zhang Chen laughed loudly and thought to himself, this guy is quite straightforward and interesting. I also thought that I was really destined to be from Zhejiang America. When I went to Hainan, Lu Ligan was pretended to be from Zhejiang America for no reason. He was painting by the West Lake and the person who stole his job was also from Zhejiang America. Now, I will give it to him. The jobs are from Zhejiang and the United States. By the way, old Tang, you graduated from Zhejiang University, how come you are doing this? Isn't it like your two friends who don't want to be slaves and get out of the workplace? I didn't graduate, so I got settled by the queen, old Tang said carelessly. Oh, what's going on? Zhang Chen asked curiously. It wasn't that year when I went to Woolen Square. Zhang Chen nodded and understood. It seemed like they were destined. Li Yong and Chen Qiang were going to be here. When they saw him, they called him comrades again. With the joining of classmates Yang, Lao Tang, and He Hungmei, Zhang Chen feels that their entire product series has become more complete, and his supply pressure has also been relieved. Lao Wan and the others worked overtime until very late every day. After working for more than a month, their Yan'an Road store finally took shape. Chongqing was as Zhang Chen expected. After all, the project volume was small and the progress was faster than them. On March 18, the store opened. It can be officially opened. Zhang Chen and He Hungmei took a flight to Chongqing on the morning of the 18th. This time Xiao Zhao did not go. The two of them stayed in Chongqing for only one night and returned to Hangzhou on the 19th. They stayed in Chongqing for one day, and this day was enough for them to be excited. On the opening day, Chongqing's half-Mutian main store did more than 62,000 in retail sales, and many styles were sold out. Otherwise, sales are even higher. The retail sales are more than 62,000, and the gross profit is equivalent to 30,000 to 400,000 for wholesale. He Dongmei smiled and said to Zhang Chen, if I had known this, I would have opened it last year. Zhang Chen thought to himself, last year, he didn't even think about it. There are too many things going on in Hangzhou. It is impossible for Zhang Chen to stay in Chongqing for a long time. He Hungmei also has to come back to keep an eye on the goods, and even compete with Zhang Chen for them, because next April 3rd, it will be their Hangzhou half-acre field flagship store. Opening day. The reason why we choose 3 days is because it is Saturday and weekend, which is the day when there are the most people in Yan'an. Zhang Chen called Lu Ligan and told him the news. Lu Ligan said okay, great. Congratulations, Zhang Chen. After saying that, he hung up the phone. 10 minutes later, Lu Ligan called again and told Zhang Chen, don't think that we can be dismissed with just one phone call. So what? Zhang Chen asked. We from Hainan will organize a group to attend. Zhang Chen heard Li Yong shouting from the side, and Chen Qiang's voice seemed to be on the phone. Zhang Chen knew that Lu Ligan had hung up the phone and went downstairs. Zhang Chen, remember, half of the big guys from Haikan will come, so be prepared to receive them, Lu Ligan shouted. Okay, tell me who they are. Zhang Chen was also excited. Listen, bitch Huang, Wei Venfang, and that bitch of hers. Which bitch? Tongla Guy? Who else could there be? Zhang Chen laughed loudly. Lu Ligan continued, this belongs to my company. Next are all the members of Meng Ping's company, including Yuan. No one should be left behind. Anyone who takes them down will kill Meng Ping. These are Meng Ping's exact words. For to save his life, he would rather shut down the entire company. Okay, come all, the more, the merrier, Zhang Chen said with a smile. Next is Mr. Li Yong, plus Mr. and Mrs. Chen Qiangxian, and Lao Tan. My eldest brother is coming too, Zhang Chen was surprised. Yes, not only did he come, he also came with a bad mouth. Lao Tan said that when you gave birth to your son, they were unable to arrive. Now that you are giving birth to your second child, they have to come no matter what. Haha, brother's metaphor is good. It's really a second child. Zhang Chen understood that even the second child was coming. Zhang Chen smiled and said, then you will meet your opponent along the way. You. How can I be on the same level as him? Lu Ligan cursed, how is it? Is the lineup strong enough? It's powerful enough, Xiao Zhao will be so happy. Don't die yet, there is still someone else. There is another one. Who is it? Lao Xie, have you forgotten your former partners? I don't want to forget, I don't want to forget. My foundation was laid on that piece of land. Now that Mr. Xie is here, I want to thank him in person, Zhang Chen said with a smile. Zhang Chen ended the call with Lu Ligan and immediately called Xiao Zhao to tell her the news. Xiao Zhao screamed on the phone. After leaving Haikan, so many good friends met again in Hangzhou. How could we be unhappy because we could get together? Zhang Chen also invited all customers who had signed agency agreements and their packagers from all over the country. He also invited Mr. Li, Xiao Li, and Wang Heiniao, the secretary, director and everyone in the village committee of Sanbao village, as well as the landlord brother, Chu Tianlin, and Xiaoan, and Harada Shino. He Hung heard Zhang Chen calling one by one, and when he finished, she said, I don't care, then all our franchise stores in Chongqing will also come to participate. This is a big event, and we must make them happy and increase their sales. Confidence. Zhang Chen quickly said okay, it should be. Zhang Chen rode to the market, called Xiao Zhao, and the two of them went to Brother Hagen's office together. In addition to inviting him, Sister Gihua, and several market leaders to attend their opening ceremony, they also came to tell Brother Hagen in advance that after the store over there opens, they may have to transfer the stalls here. Thank you. Brother Hagen has been taking care of them since he helped them get this stall. Brother Hagen went to the office next door and called the market manager over. The manager was very happy to see Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao and said he already knew about them. Congratulations. The boss happily accepted the invitation from Zhang Chen and the others. When he heard that Zhang Chen and the others were going to transfer their stall, he was as emotional as Hagen. He said, you are no longer in the market, which is really a loss to our market. When we usually chat, we will say that the popularity of this market has something to do with your headband, but you are not here. And it is also the pride of our market. No matter what, you all come from our market. That's right, Zhang Chen quickly said, without this market, where would we be today? I really want to thank you. The boss looked at Hagen and said to him, you count, among all the Sijikings, is there another owner who can go out and open such a big store on Yan'an Road? Not a single one. Hagen smiled and said, yes, our market can brag in the future. Zhang Chen told the two of them that in our store, there will be a wall with our brand story written on it. The first photo in it is a photo of our stall in this market, from 1 to 2 time, it will also be written in it that we started from this market. The boss and Hagen were even more happy after hearing this. The boss smiled and said, look, you can really brag. Thank you Lulu6717P11 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the reading and votes. Good evening, everybody. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 632. The renovation of the Yan'an Road store was not completed until March 31st, and it will open in 2 days. The store is still empty, with nothing in it. The 8 newly recruited salespeople are all locals from Hangzhou. Yeah, I never even sold clothes before. What Zhang Chen considers is that unlike Sijiking, most of the customers in the store are locals from Hangzhou. The locals are more or less exclusive. Some people, even though they can speak Mandarin, will not speak to you unless they speak it. I need to speak Hangcheng dialect with you, so if you are not a local salesperson in Hangzhou, you will have problems communicating with customers. Zhang Chen planned to arrange Xiaoli and Xiaowan on the 2nd floor. They already knew the customers of the franchise stores below. What they did on the 2nd floor was actually wholesale business, but they just changed places. Zhang Chen stall at Sijiking, and then Hagen gave them an idea. Hagen said, if you don't wait for the money to use it urgently, the stalls here are better off selling than renting them out. Now that the market is up, it's the season again. It happens to be the best time for stall rental. Your two 7-shaped stalls can bring you a net income of more than 100,000 yuan per year in rent alone. If the stall is not for sale now, it will be easy to sell next year. If it is sold next year, the price will probably be higher than this year. Look at how much the stall has increased from last year to this year. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao both felt that what Brother Hagen said made sense, and they didn't wait for the money, so they planned to rent it out. As soon as the stall rental poster was posted on a nearby telephone pole, it was rented out on the same day. Who told them that the location of their stall was good, and they were eager to rent it out, eager to get Xiao Zhao and Xiao Li Xiao Wan out, and eager to get Xiao Zhao and Xiao Li Xiao Wan out. All the goods were moved to Yan'an Road. They didn't bargain much with the people who came to rent. They rented the stall to almost the first 2 people. If Ping Lao negotiated with more companies, maybe they could earn an extra 5,000 for one stall. 10,000, but they don't have that time. In the past 2 days, Wang Haniao helped them transport truckloads of goods every day, from the stall to Yan'an Road, and from the factory to Yan'an Road. Wang Haniao joked with Zhang Chen, "Boss Zhang, you can buy a car now." Zhang Chen also felt that they really needed a car. He also wanted to buy an Iveco, which could be used to haul goods and pick up customers. But no one in their entire factory can drive. After buying a car, they have to recruit a driver, and drivers are different from ordinary people. They must understand their character and personality clearly, otherwise, the steering wheel is in hand. Here, if something happens, it will be a big deal. Forget it, let's talk about it after this busy period. Anyway, 2 tricycles can still handle it. Every day, the factory prepares the goods at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. At that time, the delivery from the factory to here is very busy. Good to go. The newly recruited salespeople didn't even have time for simple training. The first thing Xiao Zhao did when they came was to take them to clean up, take measurements, and make uniforms. Fortunately, he was a clothing factory, and the uniforms were made in 1 day. It can be done. At that time, shopping malls were not open-plan operations. Clothes were still in the clothing counters. There were really long rows of cabinets. The clothes were hung on the wall inside the cabinets. There were no fitting rooms where you could freely dress. Try on clothes. The salespersons at the counter all look fierce. If you ask her to get it for you a few more times, she will become impatient. Do you still want to try? If you want to try, be shameless and stand outside the counter, facing her disgusted face as an interview. The day after Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao arrived in Hangzhou from Guangzhou, their experience of going to Jibei to buy down jackets left a deep impression on Zhang Chen. He himself was in Sijiking and was very comfortable doing retail business. Understand the psychology and needs of these girls who come to buy clothes. He believes that the counter is the ugliest thing in a clothing store. In their store, except for the cashier, there is absolutely no counter allowed. Although the area of their store is not small, it is worthy of a women's clothing section in the mall, but in Zhangchen it seems that it is still an expanded roadside clothing store. Have you ever seen a clothing store with a counter and clothes hanging inside the counter? Customers who come to them must be able to move around the store freely, choose clothes, and go to the fitting room to try on clothes freely. The meaning of a salesperson's existence is to answer customers' questions when they need to know something, to help them when they need help, and to quickly tidy up their messy wardrobe hangers when they leave your work area. Of course, be careful not to lose your clothes. Here, all the prices are clearly marked. When it opens, the entire store is 15% off. Unlike the clothing stores on the roadside, here, like the mall, you cannot bargain. Zhang Chen's concept was to combine shopping malls with roadside clothing stores. He didn't know that his ideas inadvertently coincided with the popular business model of the international department store industry at that time. Later that year, the Sino-Japanese Huading Isidan shopping mall opened on Huihai Middle Road in Shanghai, and the first Pacific department store in mainland China opened by Taiwanese in Chengdu also followed this model. Later, all department stores also changed to such an open business model. Xiaoan and He Hongmei both came to help, and Chu Tianlin came to help after get off work, but it felt like there were still not enough manpower. Thousands of pieces of clothing had to be sorted and sampled, which was no small task. Plus, the salespeople were all novices. When it comes to Zhang Chen, it's even worse. He needs to decorate the entire environment upstairs and downstairs, constantly adding a little bit here and a little bit there. He does it all by himself, and no one else can help him. Fortunately, their reinforcements have arrived. The half of the big guys in Haikan that Lu Ligan said arrived in Hangzhou on the evening of the 2nd. This time, the number of people increased greatly, and everyone hugged and shook hands with each other warmly. After bursting into tears, I immediately got to work. Among the people who came, there was another person that Lu Ligan didn't mention on the phone, that was Huang Jianren's wife. Su Jiaking was already here, how could she not come? Fortunately, when Zhang Chen looked at her and Su Jiaking, both of them had calm faces, and Huang Jianren still looked like he didn't care about anything. He knew that this was not the first time that the three of them had met, and they would not come here to collide. Earth. Qian Fang, Ye Yulan, Su Jiaking, Wei Venfang and Lin Yiyan are all powerful characters with quick hands and feet. As soon as they arrived, the situation on the scene immediately changed, and Xiao Zhao could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Cao Ziahe took Yuan and helped take care of the children of Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan. He also held Zhang Xiangbei in his arms, so Xiao Zhao could escape completely. Mr. Ten and the second-hand boss said they were backgrounds in decoration. As soon as Zhang Chen talked to them, they knew what to do. Mr. Xia and Wu Zayawai went back and forth, and finally Mr. Xia simply helped with the ironing with Zhao's Higang, Zhao's Hailong, and 2 ironers transferred from the factory. Clothes are always wrinkled when they are transported from factories and stalls. When they are ready to be sampled, they still need to be simply ironed. Mr. Xia is good at it. Look at the pants he irons so well every day that he can cut tofu. You'll know right in the center seam. Wu Zayawai followed Lao Wan and his maintenance team to work as a porter, unloading the goods when they were delivered, and moving them upstairs and downstairs after unloading. Chen Qiang and Li Yong, 2 people from the Chinese department of Peking University, as well as Lu Ligan, who wrote The Legend of the King, immediately criticized Zhang Chen's own brand story, saying that it was written by someone else. Like the product manual, it had to be rewritten and reworked. Even Lu Ligan was excluded by 2 people from Peking University. He had nothing to do there. Lu Ligan and Meng Ping came to care about Zhang Chen's opening ceremony tomorrow. Lu Ligan asked Zhang Chen how many flower baskets there would be in total tomorrow. What flower basket? Zhang Chen asked. You didn't have flower baskets when you opened. Lu Ligan and Meng Ping were both surprised. Zhang Chen said no. He Hongmei heard it, and she shouted, I have ordered 26 of them, from our store and the specialty store below. Are there no others? Lu Ligan asked. Zhang Chen said that there were a lot of guests, but I didn't know if they would give it away. I didn't ask for it. No, 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 if you open a business, you have to crowd the door with flower baskets. Have you never seen anyone open a business? Lu Ligan scolded. Meng Ping also said, fortunately, this beauty has 26 poles here, so we can write them all. Lu Ligan immediately wrote down a list of names. Meng Ping saw Lao Wan and was still impressed by him. He called Lao Wan over and asked him, do you know where there is a flower shop? Lao Wan said he knew. Meng Ping took out 20,000 yuan from his bag, took the list from Lu Ligan, handed it to Lao Wan, and told him, according to this list, make a batch of the largest flower baskets, and before 10 o'clock tomorrow, send them here. The opening ceremony will be at 11 noon tomorrow. After the opening ceremony, Guests from all over the world will go to the international building not far away for dinner, and the business will begin here. Who is the leader who will cut the ribbon tomorrow? Lu Ligan asked. Zhang Chen shook his head. What kind of leader do you want? For our own store, we just cut the ribbon ourselves. You didn't invite the leader. Meng Ping was also surprised. Zhang Chen said, I invited the boss of our market, as well as the secretary and director of Sanbeo village. Lu Ligan and Meng Ping laughed heartily. Lu Ligan scolded, why did you cut the ribbon without asking the leader? Meng Ping and Zhang Chen said, Zhang Chen, asking for a leader is a matter of knowledge. Do you know why everyone has to ask for a leader when starting a business? Zhang Chen shook his head. When the leader comes, he doesn't come alone. Meng Ping and Zhang Chen said, for example, when the provincial leader comes, the provincial media will naturally come. When the municipal leader comes, the city's media will naturally follow. Now, all the media have reported it, which is free advertising for you. Zhang Chen understood and said, but the biggest leader I know in Hangcheng is the secretary of Sanbeo village. You, the secretary and director, and the market boss, why did you invite them? It's not because you are in their place and feel you have to rely on them. This leader is here. Let me tell you, Zhang Chen, the secretary you are talking about, directors and bosses, when they see, wow, such a big leader is related to this guy, your roles will change from now on, they will be afraid of you. Meng Ping and Zhang Chen were talking, and Lu Ligan kept nodding beside him. When Meng Ping finished speaking, Lu Ligan continued to say, Lao Meng was right, that's all. Zhang Chen thought to himself, what the hell, it turns out that there is so much knowledge in hiring a leader, but even if he knows it, what's the use, since he really doesn't even know a leader. Lu Ligan looked at his watch. It was already past 8 o'clock in the evening. He called Huang Jianren and his wife over and told them that Mr. Zhang's opening ceremony will be held at 11 o'clock at noon tomorrow. There will be no ribbon-cutting ceremony. Please think of a way. Before Huang Jianren spoke, his wife nodded and said, I understand, I will make arrangements. Mr. Zhang, can you tell me the address and name of your unit? Lu Ligan handed the pen and paper to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen wrote and handed it to Huang Jianren's wife, Xiao Huang, whose surname is also Huang. Xiao Huang took Zhang Chen's big brother and walked away. He came back 10 minutes later and told them that the arrangements were made. A deputy S-chief from the province would come tomorrow, as well as the executive deputy mayor of Hangzhou. That would be enough. Yet. Meng Ping nodded and said, okay. Do you need to say hello to the branch office and reporter station? Xiao Huang asked. Lu Ligan said it was best. What Xiao Huang was talking about was the branches of Xinhua News Agency and several major newspapers such as Renri, Guangming, and Wenhui in Zhejiang. Xiao Huang was responsible for this in Haikan. She and their head office were very close. Ripe. After all these arrangements were made, Lu Ligan and Meng Ping felt that tomorrow's opening ceremony was complete. Thank you for the tip. Thank you for your monthly votes from Zhengguang Ion Exchange Rezhen Ping and Tianma Xin Kong. Thanks for all the reading and votes. I wish you all a happy life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 633. After Chen Qiang and Li Yong finished writing the brand story, they asked Zhang Chen to write it on the backboard again and put it up at the door. After reading it, Zhang Chen cursed, damn, it's written in such a disgusting way. When he saw them, he combined the love story between him and Xiao Zhao into the brand story. The last sentence of the story is, guarding everyone's half-acre of love and career, tranquility, contentment, and no extravagant expectations. Li Yong shouted, this story is for others to read, not for you to read. Your feelings can be ignored, as long as it can impress others. Li Yong called to those women, come and take a look. Several women came over and read it. They all said that Li Yong and the others wrote well. Su Jiaking took what they wrote and said, of course this is it. I almost cried when I read it. Xiao Huang turned his head sideways and smiled casually. Did you see that women like this are your customers? They are the ones you want to impress, Li Yong and Zhang Chen said, write quickly. Zhang Chen had no choice but to pick up the pen and read it again before he was about to write. He put the pen down and said to Li Yong and Chen Qiang, you should become your humming clothes sister or host the midnight emotional hotline. No, I'm afraid I'll vomit when I write. He Hung Mei volunteered and said, I will write it. After He Hung Mei finished writing, she read it again, stood up, hugged Xiao Zhao and kept laughing. She said, who are these two people here? Why don't I recognize them? Xiao Zhao frowned and kept shaking her head. She said, don't ask me, I don't know him either. Who is this Xiao Zhao? Chen Qiang and Li Yong laughed, and Li Yong said, it's just right if you don't know him. If you don't know him, that's the story, otherwise it's just a news report. I don't even know the news report, Xiao Huang said. She reached out and asked He Hung Mei for the manuscript of the story written by Li Yong and others. He Hung Mei asked her, why do you want this? Lu Ligan shouted, give her, so many reporters will come tomorrow, and she will feed them. The harder they feed, the more they will write. If a store opens, what is there to write about? If a young man's entrepreneurial story, coupled with a love story, is newsworthy. Starting tomorrow, the love story about half an acre of land will probably spread all over the country. Zhang Chen glared at him and cursed, is this how your great kings came to be? Lu Ligan said nonchalantly, yes, otherwise how could he become a king? Xiaoan was surprised and asked Lu Ligan, how do you know there will be many reporters coming tomorrow? Lu Li pointed at Xiao Huang, you asked her. Everyone looked at Xiao Huang, who smiled and said nothing. Zhang Chen remembered and said that when the Pole arrived alone, it was equivalent to the arrival of 6 media, and he was a joint reporter from the 6 media. Everyone was puzzled, so Li Yong told everyone about Lu Ligan's story about cooperating with journalists from 6 media outlets, and everyone laughed wildly. At this moment, Zhang Chen thought of Lu Yun, and his heart sank. He didn't know where she was now. Okay. He couldn't ask Lu Ligan, let alone Li Yong, about this. He could only find an opportunity to quietly ask Chen Qiang, if she was really in Nanjing, how far away was Nanjing from Hangzhou? So many people were busy until about 2 o'clock in the morning before they finally finished. Mr. Tan waved his hands, clapped them, and shouted loudly, get out, everyone, get out. Mr. Xia looked at him and asked, Lao Tan, what do you want to do? Everyone is the first batch of guests in this store. Let's go out and go to the other side of the road, Mr. Tan continued to shout. Everyone understood and walked out, crossed the empty Yan'an road, and stood on the opposite side of the road. Only Mr. Tan and Zhang Chen were left in the store. This was also a ritual they had to complete every time they completed a project. Everyone stood on the opposite side of Yan'an road and looked at this place. The lights inside and outside the store went dark one by one. Finally, the whole store turned into pitch black. They didn't know what Lao Tan and Zhang Chen were going to do. Only the idiot understood it, but this chattering mouth was silent at this time. There are 3 rows of air switches in the entire store, 1 row controls the outside, 1 row controls the first floor, and 1 row controls the stairs leading to the second floor and the entire second floor. Mr. Tan opened the lighter in his hand and lit it up. Both of them knew the positions of the 3-row air switches. They first pushed up the separate switches in the dark. Finally, the 2 stood side by side. Zhang Chen held down 1 main switch and Mr. Tan held down 2. Zhang Chen smiled and said, brother, you count. Mr. Tan started counting 1, 2, 3, open. Following Mr. Tan's turn on, the two people pushed up the main switch in their hands almost at the same time. The eyes of those standing opposite lit up. They saw that the entire half-acre flagship store opposite was like a sudden miracle. In an instant, all the lights lit up, including the sea of stars at the door. Everyone took a breath and exclaimed, "This is so beautiful." Then he clapped his hands and cheered involuntarily. An empty taxi passing by was startled and he quickly stepped on the brakes. He was frightened not only by the applause and cheers on the right, but also by the sudden lights on the left. After regaining his composure, he simply stopped and looked at it for a while, then released the brakes and shouted loudly into the intercom system where many people were chattering to each other throughout the night. "Come to Yan'an Road and take a look. It's beautiful here, like a fairyland." Everyone on the other side of the road crossed the road and walked back. They were anxious to go and have a look at the store. Mr. Tan ran out and shouted, taking a group photo with everyone at the door. Everyone cheered again and happily stood in a row at the door of the store. The light at the door of the store was very bright. The second guy took out his camera, and Zhang Chen quickly went to take out his camera as well. First he took a group photo of everyone together, and then started taking photos of various combinations. There are group photos of the troops from Haikan with Zhang Chen and his wife, Mr. Tan, Mr. Xie, Meng Ping, Chu Tianlin, etc. with Zhang Chen's family of 3, as well as photos of various other combinations, from outside the store to the store inside, and then into the patio. The most bizarre thing is that Lu Ligan snatched Zhang Chen's camera and told Huang Jianren, his wife, and Su Jiaking that at this special moment and place, the three of you need to leave a souvenir. The three of them were stunned for a moment, and then stood generously. Together, Lu Ligan shouted, "Huang bitch, you humming stand in the middle." People who didn't know didn't think anything about it, but those who knew the inside story had already laughed and bent over. "I'm forced to take a photo with my god brother," the second-rate guy shouted, making sure to take a photo with Zhang Chen and the three of them. Xiao Zhao said, "You haven't called me yet when you see me, so we can take a group photo after calling." The idiot scratched his head and called Ant obediently, while the others laughed beside him. After the fun, Zhang Chen said, "Thank you everyone for your help. After a busy night, we will go to Longxiang Bridge for a midnight snack together." Xiao Zhao told the girls and the people who came to help from the factory that you should go together. Those girls became excited when they heard that they were going to Longxiang Bridge to eat seafood. Mr. Tan heard that we were eating seafood, so he said, "We are from Hainan, why should we eat seafood here? It's different. This is Donghai seafood, coming from Shenzhen and Wenzhou." Chu Tianlin is very familiar with seafood in Hangzhou, Guangdong, and Hainan. She and Mr. Tan explained. The hairtail meat in Zhoushan is very tender and can be steamed. The hairtail meat in Guangdong and Hainan is too rough, and there are small bones on the back. I don't know what they are. The crabs are also different. Hainan has red flowers. Crabs, meat crabs, here are swimming crabs, which are unique to the East China Sea, and large yellow croaker, which is unique to the East China Sea. Zhang Chen also remembered the Wenzhou area where the troop often visited before, and said to them, "Nanji Island in Pingyang, Wenzhou, is the place with the richest shellfish and marine life in my country. Go to the market and see for yourself. I'm sure there are a lot of shellfish that you have never seen before, let alone eat." "Okay, let's go and have a try." After hearing what Chu Tianlin and Zhang Chen said, Lao Tan and Lao Xie also became interested. There is a seafood wholesale market not far from Longxiang Bridge. Every night, trucks transporting seafood can enter the city. Cars from Ningbo and Wenzhou continue to deliver various seafood. Surrounding the seafood wholesale market, there are naturally a lot of food stalls, and the diners who come here to taste the freshest seafood. With so many people, it took 5 or 6 tables to sit down, So they chose a newly expanded restaurant named Two Cups, the largest food stall, and sat down. After sitting down, they put a few plastic tables at the door. The seafood in the basin was all gone, but Lao Tan and Meng Ping still felt that it was not enough. The two of them went to the market opposite to look for the shellfish that Zhang Chen said that you had never seen before. Mr. Xie was sitting there. He asked Chu Tianlin, "Why did this store have such a strange name?" Chu Tianlin was stunned. She came to this store often, but she had never thought about this problem. She told the waiter to call Boss Ni over. After a while, the waiter led a man in his 30s over. He was the boss of Ergu. Boss Ni knew Chu Tianlin and smiled when he saw her. Chu Tianlin pointed at Mr. Xie and said, "Boss Ni said, Boss Ni, I am a big brother from Hainan. I want to know why your store is called this name." "You don't know?" Boss Ni asked. "I really don't know either," Chu Tianlin said. Boss Ni told them about the origin of the store's name. Li Yong and Chen Qiang laughed as they listened. "This is another brand story?" Boss Ni is a household in Longxiang, that is, a person from here. He went to primary school on Changsheng Road and opened a barber shop on Dongpo Road. Later, seeing how many people were around the market, he decided to stay in his own house. He opened a food stall. His food stall initially sold box lunches and noodles. Later, he saw other people's seafood food stalls and the business was good. He took advantage of the location and opened it too. The business is getting better and better. As for the name of the store Cup, Boss Ni laughed and said, "This is also my nickname, and I have been called it since I was a child. There is an old lady who runs a tea house on Dongpo Road. She likes to give nicknames to the nearby teacups. When she picks them up, she always carries the word cup for the teacup. Starting from the 11th cup, 12 cup, 10 3 cups, 14 cups. Boss Ni's nickname was 12 cups. Later, people got tired of calling it 12 cups, so they omitted the word and called it 12 cups. Not many people know my name, Ni Xingen. Thank you Cheng Shanming, Bronze, 1890-798-3117 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 634. Many people coming and going on Yan'an Road have actually noticed this store for a long time. First of all, of course, it is such a big store, covering hundreds of square meters, and it looks very beautiful and fashionable. It can be said that it is the most beautiful store on Yan'an Road. The second thing is the name of the store, Half Acre Field. This name is both earthy and foreign. It also has such a silly rustic feel to it, which is a bit strange. There is also the female lifestyle flagship store at the back. Women all understand it? Look at it, instead of selling clothes, it probably does hair. But why not call it a women's clothing store or a hairdresser, but call it a lifestyle store? Not only the lifestyle store, but also the lifestyle flagship store. What is this? I really don't understand, I don't understand. Early in the morning, flower baskets were delivered one after another, including those from He Hungmei and others from Chongqing, Luligan and Mengping from Hainan, and those franchise stores developed by Zhang Chen and others, who also made appointments to do the same. I sent a flower basket, which can be regarded as a local help. There are also those packagers, Guo Wentao, Ma Ya, Zhengzhou Asia, Beijingzhu, Xi'an, Kunming, Wuhan, they all sent flower baskets. Sijiking Clothing Market and Sanbeo Village Committee also sent flower baskets. All the florists who took over the business were very diligent and delivered the flower baskets in advance. At 9 o'clock, Zhang Chen and the others walked from the international building where Mr. Tan, Lu Ligan and all the customers lived, and walked here from the door of the store. The open space in the flower bed in front was already filled with flower baskets. When Lu Lipol took a look, he was even happier than Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen really hated this kind of scene, and even had some stage fright. He told Meng Ping and Lu Ligan, "No, no, I hate this kind of scene the most. When I see the leader, I don't know what to say." "And what to say? Why the hell do you still get stage fright when you see the leader? Aren't you a Gandu? You like to argue with the leader the most. Who in the cultural system doesn't know you?" Lu Ligan scolded. "Of course I'm not afraid of arguing, but today they came with good intentions, or because of Xiao Wang's great reputation, I can argue with them. Are you out of your mind?" Zhang Chen scolded back. "Well, at the critical moment, no matter who the brother is, the other will be the winner." Lu Ligan and Meng Ping, like Zhang Chen today, are also wearing suits and ties, with flowers on their chests. They appear as owners. People who don't know this store may think that there are 3 owners of this store. There is another reason why they are willing to appear. There are 2 big leaders who will come to participate in the ribbon-cutting ceremony today. One is the deputy mayor of the province, and the other is the executive deputy mayor of Hangzhou. People who don't know think that this deputy chief must be older than the deputy mayor, but this deputy chief is in charge of business, trade, and tourism. The deputy mayor is the executive deputy mayor of provincial capital cities and cities under separate state planning. They are all central management cadres. Their levels are actually about the same. When a leader meets a leader, or when a big leader meets a bigger leader, it's easy to handle. The big leader will definitely follow suit, follow the bigger leader, smile, nod, and praise every word of the bigger leader. Or clapping, a group of people will go around the entire store together, look around upstairs and downstairs, listen to their reports, and then cut the ribbon, and then the big leader will send the bigger leaders into the car and leave. When leaders of similar levels meet together, no one will follow suit. They even hope from the bottom of their hearts that it would be best not to meet each other. They will each visit their respective offices, then go on stage and stand on both sides. After the ribbon cutting, the atmosphere between the 2 parties will be harmonious. They shook hands and left. Meng Ping and Lu Ligan were very familiar with this guy and knew that Zhang Chen couldn't handle it. This guy might even say to his face, "Deputy Mayor X, Vice Mayor, it seems that Deputy Mayor X should be waiting here for Deputy S at this time." "The most terrifying thing," Lu Ligan said, "Lao Meng, don't underestimate Zhang Chen. He is the Deputy Mayor of Company X. If you continue to visit, I will go to the door to pick up Deputy Mayor X. He will say this." Meng Ping laughed loudly. He told Zhang Chen that the mayor and chief S were not here today, so you must not add that subtitle. "Where are the mayor and chief S?" Zhang Chen asked puzzledly. "Then you must add that subtitle," Meng Ping said. Meng Ping and Lu Ligan made an appointment. Meng Ping would accompany the deputy chief, and Lu Ligan would accompany the deputy mayor. They would visit separately. If they went up and downstairs and saw another person on this floor, if one of them was on the left, they would take the other person. One person led the tour starting from the right. Xiao Huang and Huang Jianren serve as backup. If there is an emergency, rescuing the scene is like putting out a fire. They don't have to worry about so much. They will call Uncle X to come out and reveal their family background. At 10:50, the outside was already crowded with people, including their guests from all over the country, and more people watching the excitement. People crowded onto Yan'an Road. The traffic police came over on a motorcycle. They originally wanted to give the owner of the store a lecture, but they knew that the executive deputy mayor of Hangzhou was coming soon. They quickly asked for more police support through the intercom and simply let Yan'an Road out of the way. "Give them half." Sure enough, many reporters arrived, some invited by Xiao Huang, some who were notified to report on the leader's whereabouts, and some who came to the door based on their sense of smell. Xiao Huang led them to visit first. Circle and let them click for a while, or let the camera scan. Xiao Huang told them the touching brand story. Everyone was very interested and felt that the trip was worthwhile. In addition to completing the front page task, they could also publish a report on other pages. Deputy S and Executive Vice Mayor arrived at about the same time. Meng Ping and Lu Ligan greeted them, caught them, and accompanied them on the tour respectively. The reporters surrounding Xiao Huang in front were automatically divided into two groups at this time, and those from the provincial media reporters followed Meng Ping and others, and those from municipal media followed Lu Ligan and others. After the visit, under the applause of everyone, the Deputy Director S and the Executive Deputy Mayor came to cut the ribbon. At this time, Zhang Chen was supposed to come up, but they found that Zhang Chen could not be found. Lu Ligan asked the little boy anxiously. "Zhao, where is Zhang Chen?" Xiao Zhao shook his head, and Xiao Li, who was wearing a Chong Sam, said that he seemed to accompany Brother Hagen and the others in. Lu Ligan understood that this guy had an excuse to hide. Chen Qiang shouted, "Come up, Lao Mang, you guys come up." Meng Ping and Lu Ligan hurried up. The four of them clicked their scissors, cut the ribbons, shook hands with each other, and got into the car respectively. Deputy S and the Executive Deputy Mayor sat in the car and sighed softly. For them, it was a work task that was completed, although it was unclear who assigned this task. Just know that they have to come. After seeing off the two big leaders, Meng Ping and Lu Ligan turned around. A large number of reporters gathered around them and asked them, "Who among you is Mr. Zhang Chen?" Meng Ping reacted quickly. He did not say that none of us were the same, but pointed at Lu Ligan. The reporters gathered around him. Lu Ligan could only become Zhang Chen. Meng Ping was outside the crowd, watching. Lu Ligan laughed proudly. Surrounded by reporters, Zhang Chen talked eloquently, from his entrepreneurial experience to his love experience. The reporters all felt that today's interviewee was so good, he was eloquent, and his words and narratives were organized. Write down the entire article, almost no need to revise, it will be a very touching interview. A large wave of customers rushed into the store, and the salespersons couldn't take care of them at all. Even the cashier was too busy. Ya Yulan immediately sat at the cashier, Qian Fang, Su Jiaking, Wei Venfang, Lin Yiyan, and Xiaoan, and together with Xiao Zhao, he worked as a salesperson on the first floor. Xiaoli, Wu Zaiwai, and Huo stood at the stairs. Only Xiaoli said it was okay and it belonged to their franchise store customers and packagers, so Wu Zaiwai and Huo let them go to the second floor. On the second floor, He Hongmei was visiting with the entire Chongqing team. They did not purchase goods, but they all ordered a lot of goods from He Hongmei. Zhao Zhigang and Lao Wan helped Xiao Wan upstairs to receive customers from the franchise stores, holding order forms in their hands to accept their reservations. Anyway, most of the customers here, Zhao Zhigang and Lao Wan, know each other, and they don't mind the two big men receiving them. Today, here, in such a lively scene, they all feel like their own people. Aren't we all half an acre of land people? Guo Wentao and Ma Ya found Zhang Chen and told him that they must sign the general agent agreement before returning. Zhengzhou Asia and Beijing Zhu, as well as other packagers, also said that they must sign the general agent agreement immediately. Zhang Chen said okay, we will sign it as a family when we have dinner later. Zhang Chen led the guests to the international building for dinner, but Xiao Zhao and Qian Fang couldn't leave. There were too many retail customers on the first floor. They didn't even have time to eat. They could only take the time to go to the cashier and take a bite of what Chu Tianlin bought. Cake and a sip of water. On this day, they did more than 134,000 in retail sales alone. Half-acre field became an instant hit in Hangzhou. Although there was no internet at that time, and there was no instant spread and instant fame in the later internet era, but overnight, through word of mouth, they became well-known celebrities. The event has become a place that women must visit. Coupled with the tens of seconds of news broadcast on TV at night and more space for newspaper promotion the next day, It was really a wonderful era of print media. So many people loved reading newspapers, and the half-acre of field on Yan'an Road, the opening of the women's lifestyle flagship store, and the legendary love story of the two entrepreneurs spread throughout Hangzhou and beyond through newspapers. However, the photos of Zhang Chen, general manager of Zhejiang Banmuishan Clothing Co., Limited, that appeared in the newspaper were all of Lu Ligan, which puzzled many Yongcheng people who saw the newspaper at the same time the next day. April 4, 1993, was a sunny Sunday. More customers came here. Zhang Chen had to transfer several female workers from the factory to help. Qian Fang and the others also had to postpone, went back to Haikan one day late. By 7:50 p.m., Ya Yulan and Zhang Chen said sales had exceeded 200,000 yuan. It's not important anymore. Zhang Chen feels that the numbers that will increase later are no longer important. Even the previous numbers are not important. The most important thing is the crowded scene in this store. Thank you to Laughing and Running Y for the tip. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all happiness. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 635. Zhang Chen woke up from his sleep. When he woke up, he had forgotten what he had dreamed about. He sat up and suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Xiao Zhao asked him, "What happened?" Zhang Chen shook his head and said it was nothing, he just had a nightmare. "What did you dream about?" Zhang Chen continued to shake his head, "I can't remember." Zhang Chen looked at his watch. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. He said to Xiao Zhao, "You go to sleep. I'll go to the factory to take a look." Xiao Zhao hummed, turned around, and continued to sleep. Zhang Chen went downstairs and walked to the factory instead of riding a bicycle. Along the way, he was still thinking about the dream he had just had, but he just couldn't remember it. He couldn't remember the content of the dream, but he felt palpitation and sudden helplessness. The feeling is still there, very clear. Maybe it was during this period that everything went too smoothly. The half-acre field women's lifestyle flagship store on Yan'an Road had such a good start, including good news coming from all over the place, which made Zhang Chen feel vaguely uneasy. He thinks this is so good, it seems like a big invisible hand, blocking everything and blinding your eyes. It shouldn't be. Zhang Chen felt that everything shouldn't be so good. When everyone was happy, Zhang Chen felt that he wasn't that happy, but he couldn't explain why he was uneasy. It was this lack of clarity that tortured him every day, making him want to figure it out. But the more he tried to figure it out, the more unclear he became. It seemed like a big invisible hand was blocking his thoughts. Figure it all out. He felt like he was back when he was a child during the Chinese New Year, thinking every day that when a relative arrived, he would get 1 yuan of New Year's money. This relative really came. Zhang Chen's heart was beating fast. When he left, he gave Zhang Chen a red envelope. Zhang Chen was suddenly surprised. The red envelope seemed thicker than before. After the relative left, he took it out. I counted it and found that there were not 10 brand new 10-cent cards in the red envelope, but 20. Zhang Chen had no way to chase the relative and ask him why the red envelope this year was twice that of last year. He was very excited. Besides being excited, he also felt that this relative must have made a mistake. So when he came again, Zhang Chen hid in the room and did not dare to go out. He was afraid that the relative would ask him how much I stuffed in the red envelope. Zhang Yumao. Although it is impossible for this to happen, even if it is stuffed wrongly, no one will ask like this, but Zhang Chen is worried about the extra 10 pieces of 10 cents, and always feels that this is not what he deserves. Until he gets it. Even after all the money was spent, he still felt that he had received 10 pieces of 10 cents that he should not have received. For a long time, Zhang Chen would be restless when this relative came, thinking that something bad would happen. This person who gave him luck would become like a disaster every time he appeared. He even some are afraid and hate him coming. Zhang Chen walked to the factory and saw that in the office, Zheng Huiyang was still typing out tags. The tag machine spit out tags, but she was holding a stack of receipts and kept typing something on that computer. Zhang Chen asked curiously, "What are you doing?" Zheng Huiyang said, "I'm helping Sister Xiao Zhao keep accounts." Zhang Chen heard Xiao Zhao tell him that Zheng Huiyang had torn up the manual of the computer and told people everywhere that she had discovered that this computer could not only play tags, but could also do many things. She couldn't explain, and others couldn't figure out what else the computer could do. But Xiao Zhao said that Zheng Huiyang is very powerful. She now hands all the documents to Zheng Huiyang every day. When she needs to check any data, she can just ask Zheng Huiyang and she can find it from the computer. Even if you want to know, she could find out which styles and people they were sent to 5 days ago without asking for it for a minute. If she tried to turn over the ledger, she would die. Zhang Chen watched for a while behind her, but didn't see how she kept accounts. Zhang Chen shook his head, walked out, and met Lao Wan at the door. Zhang Chen said, "What are you doing?" Lao Wan told him to find Zheng Huiyang and ask her how to deliver the goods. "Should I ask her this too? There's not enough goods, there's nothing we can do." Zhang Chen became interested and followed Lao Wan back. Zheng Huiyang talked for a long time, and Zhang Chen understood what they did. Every night, franchise stores in various places will transmit their daily sales, and Zheng Huiyang will input them into that computer. Her account here is the same as that of every store. She knows exactly what styles and how many. Now, everyone knows that all goods in the factory are tight, so many times, when allocating goods, they are randomly allocated. Even if there are still goods, they still have to ask for them. Because there is a replacement rate, there is no need to worry about inventory. I think it's better to have more than less. If you can't sell it here, you can just replace it with the factory when the time comes. But now the factory is in a tight spot for all goods. Basically, every customer's distribution list cannot be fulfilled. Many customers will call and scold them, saying that they have already collected the customer's money and they will come to pick up the clothes today. Why did you send other styles that are not urgent, but not this style? Zheng Huiyang listened to Lao Wan answering such calls every day. She gave Lao Wan an idea and said, "In fact, she has the inventory of every store here. Simply, when a certain style is produced, if the output is much less, if the order quantity is too large, go to her to check first. Don't send it to those who still have it in stock. Send it to those who don't have it in stock first." After doing this, as expected, Lao Wan got scolded less often when he answered the phone. Those who didn't receive the goods were actually not in such a hurry. They didn't arrive before they arrived. When the goods were sold out in 2 days, the factory would return them. The order from a few days ago has been reissued, so what else do they have to complain about? Zhang Chen was very interested after hearing this. He felt that using this method to control the exchange rate was more reliable than relying on each store to control it themselves. In this way, the risk of inventory can be greatly reduced. Zhang Chen asked Zheng Huiyang, "When you took the college entrance examination, did your math score also be very high?" Zheng Huiyang nodded and asked in a low voice, "Mr. Zhang, how do you know?" "I'm just bad at Chinese and politics, so I couldn't pass the exam." No wonder, Zhang Chen thought, no wonder. "Xiao Zheng, let me ask you one more thing. What stores can you see here now?" "Those stores where we signed our own agreements." "What about the others? For example, if it's from Chongqing, can you see it?" Zheng Huiyang shook her head. She couldn't see it. "I could only see the Chongqing head office." Zhang Chen understood and asked, "If their subordinates fax sales to us every day instead of faxing them to Chongqing, would you be able to see them here?" Zheng Huiyang said yes, but in that case, it would be too late for her alone, if there were so many documents. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said to Zheng Huiyang, Go and find out where this computer can be sold in Hangzhou and how much it costs. If I give you 2 more people, can you compile all the data across the country? Zheng Huiyong did the math and said, it's almost the same, Mr. Zhang. When Zhang Chen walked out of the door, he suddenly understood. What made him feel uneasy were actually these seemingly inconspicuous things, but in the end he found out that each one was actually a time bomb. He was worried about not being able to keep up with production and quality. There will be problems, and he is worried that the final inventory will be large. The least thing he worries about is sales, but most likely, the thing he should worry about most is sales. Zhang Chen thought that their sales data were probably false. Every day now, the factory seemed very busy, and every style was in short supply. But in fact, many styles only went from their factory to each franchise store, and have not really reached the hands of customers. Zhang Chen immediately returned to the office. He said to Zheng Huiyong, Xiao Zheng, can you count the 3 styles with the largest inventory among all franchise stores now? Okay, Mr. Zhang. After a few minutes, Zheng Huiyong wrote the product numbers of the 3 styles to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen looked at them and asked, do you think these 3 styles are still being replenished across the country? Yes, Mr. Zhang, I saw a lot of replenishment orders in front of me. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said, please do some statistics. For these 3 styles, how many of our franchise stores have distributed them in total and how many have actually been sold? As Zhang Chen was talking, the supervisor from the back office ran in and said to Zheng Huiyong, quick, X-930-3447, the S code is 15 tags short, help me type it. Zheng Huiyong looked at Zhang Chen, and Zhang Chen said okay, you can help her fight first. When Zheng Huiyong was putting on the hang tags, Zhang Chen asked the supervisor why there were 15 fewer. Aren't the hang tags printed according to the production order? Some clothes were damaged. The actual number would be less than the production order. Wouldn't there just be more hang tags? Won't it be less? The supervisor at the back end was speechless. Zheng Huiyong said that it was the people at the back end who had to make up for the trouble every day. In the end, it was not enough, so he came over to make up for it. Zhang Chen looked at the back end supervisor, who said, sometimes it gets torn. Zhang Chen frowned and didn't say anything else, but he felt that if he had to mend it every day, it must not be as simple as tearing it. How could it be possible to tear it so much? After the supervisor went out with the newly printed tag, Zheng Huiyong continued to help Zhang Chen check the data. After more than 10 minutes, Zheng Huiyong said loudly, okay, Mr. Zhang. She handed the piece of paper to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen was shocked when he saw it. He felt that he was breaking out in a cold sweat again. If he didn't have a cold sweat, he should have broken out in a cold sweat. He saw that 582 pieces of the style at the top of the list had been shipped out, but the total sales in their more than 60 stores were only 17 pieces. As for this style, the factory was still working overtime to produce it, and sold other products. Style, pulled down. Zhang Chen and Zheng Huiyong said, please help me check. How many days have these 3 styles been sold in our store? After Zheng Huiyong checked, she told Zhang Chen that Mr. Zhang would be here in 5 days. Zhang Chen fell down on the stool and felt cold in his heart. Every day that seemed busy and orderly, he felt that it was actually disordered. The whole factory was so busy every day that he didn't know how much he dug for himself. Pit. Zhang Chen picked up the phone on the table and called Zhao Zhigang and Lao Wan. After a while, both of them ran in. Zhang Chen told them that production of these 3 styles would be stopped immediately. But, Kunming and Zhengzhou are still replenishing these goods, Lao Wan said. Let Xiao Zheng do some statistics and urge them to return the goods from each franchise store and then send them to Kunming and Zhengzhou. When Zhang Chen said this, he understood in his heart that in fact, these goods were sent to Kunming and Zhengzhou, but they were also in vain. Now it is more like a gamble to block these two markets. The needs of customers are different from the markets in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Anhui. Zhang Chen felt that he didn't even know how many such styles there were, and he needed to bet like this. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 636. Mr. Zhang Zhenhuiyang called. What's the matter? Zhang Chen asked. I think the ones in Kunshan and Xiangshan should meet their needs. Why? 17 pieces of this style are sold by both of them. Zhang Chen said yes, then he would satisfy them. It seems that there are still local differences in the clothing styles, or the samples produced by their two stores are particularly good. Zhenhuiyang raised her hand, as if asking to speak in class. Zhang Chen said that's what you say. Other styles of both of them are also selling well. The daily sales of this store in Kunshan are higher than those in Suzhou, Zhenhuiyang said. However, these styles are all taken by everyone who comes to buy them, and they all want to buy them. Otherwise, I would not keep arranging production. Zhao Zhigang didn't understand. If this isn't a best-selling model, what is it? This is just a style that our customers think is good, not a good selling style. Clothes have to be sold before they can be considered. 17 pieces of this style were sold in more than 60 stores in 5 days. Do you still think it is a best-selling style? No. In this way, just after arriving at the store from us, the 20-day replacement period is coming, and they are all back, Zhang Chen said. Zhao Zhigang understood, and he shouted, then how to arrange production? We just place orders according to customer replenishment. That doesn't count. We don't know what to do anymore. It's okay, Director Zhao. I can count the sales of all styles in our franchise stores here. The top ones are the really best-selling styles, instead of counting the wholesale volume, Zhenhuiyang said. Zhang Chen nodded, please work hard and count them up. Zhenhuiyang said yes. Also, Mr. Zhang, I think we can select 10 stores from our franchise stores, plus our own store on Yan'an Road. The clothes we sell on the first board can be sent to these places for sale first. This way you can know whether the style is a good seller. As soon as Zhenhuiyang finished speaking, Zhao Zhigang shouted, that's okay. Anyway, we can't cut that many pieces per board. Cut one board first. If it sells well, cut it in large quantities. If it doesn't sell, don't add more production. The most we can do in between is there is a difference of 3 or 4 days, and you can tell whether it sells well or not. Zhang Chen thought for a while and felt that this method is indeed good. It is equivalent to selecting a few locations for trial sales. If such a style is good or not, he can know immediately, instead of waiting for all the goods to be sold and then waiting for their feedback. By the time you find out, thousands of pieces of clothing of one style have been produced. Zhang Chen looked at Zhenhuiyang and said, okay, Xiaozhen, your suggestion is good. It's up to you to decide which stores to choose. Okay, Mr. Zhang, Zhenhuiyang said, her face a little red. After leaving the office, Zhang Chen, Zhao Zhigang, and Lao Wan walked towards the workshop together. The workers in the sewing workshop had already got off work. Only Ho Dao and Da Fang were still at work. They went to work later than the sewing workers every day and got off work later. All clothing must be packed before leaving get off work. As for the delivery person, the goods on 2 or 3 wheelers will be sent to Yan'an Road at this time, and the rest will be put into the showroom and packaged and shipped the next day. After the half-acre field women's lifestyle flagship store returned to normal, it has sales of 50,000 to 60,000 yuan every day, and on Sundays, there will be sales of about 100,000 yuan. It has become a well-known women's clothing store inside and outside the province, and many girls have come to Hangzhou. You must go to half-acre field for a stroll. Zhao Zhigang and Lao Wan went to the back aisle to inventory the finished products. Zhang Chen walked to the showroom alone, opened the door and walked in. He walked to the workbench and couldn't remember why he came in. Zhang Chen shook his head with a wry smile. Zhang Chen came out of the showroom, and even the backend had finished get-off work. The last person on duty had cleaned the floor of the backend workshop, holding a bucket in hand, and was about to go to the trash can to take out the garbage. Zhang Chen stopped her and looked at her basket. Sure enough, there were several intact hang tags, which verified Zhang Chen's previous thoughts. The hang tags were not torn, but they were not kept properly during work and fell into a pile of clothes. I couldn't find them anywhere. When the clothes on the table and in the plastic baskets on the floor were finally cleared, the tags came out again, but they were no longer redundant. Zhang Chen feels that this is like a red spot on the body. You won't notice one or two, but when there are too many, your entire skin will start to ulcerate. The bigger the company is, the more people there are, and there are more and more red spots here and there. Ulcers may be coming quietly, and you are not aware of it yet. Boss, can I go dump it? The worker holding the bucket asked. When Zhang Chen woke up, he said oh and said, go ahead. Zhang Chen walked out of the factory and walked home. After a while, it would start to get light. In the surrounding vegetable fields, there were already 2 or 3 vegetable farmers harvesting vegetables. Zhang Chen was a little unhappy. He didn't know whether it was because he was worried about gains and losses, or because over the years, every time he felt that he was about to reach the peak, something bad would always happen. Starting from the Wanghai Tower project, one after another. Are all like this? Are you afraid, or is this the so-called fate? At noon the next day, Zhang Chen went to the factory. There were not many people in the factory yet, and a large number of workers had not gotten up yet. The lunch in the staff canteen was moved from the original 11:30 to 12 o'clock, and then moved again. At 12:30, it still didn't work. Simply, we will eat in 2 batches at noon. People who work normally, such as the maintenance team, finance, warehouse management, designers, sample workers, etc., will still eat at 11:30, while the workers' lunchtime will be moved to 1 p.m. They were only in 2s and 3s at that time, and they had just woken up. Zhang Chen walked into the office and saw Zheng Huiyang still in the office. Seeing Zhang Chen come in, he gave Zhang Chen the statistics of the best-selling styles that Zhang Chen asked for. Zhang Chen took a look and was surprised. He saw on his hand here, it is not the statistics of best-selling styles, but all the hundreds of styles, including the products of Yang, Lao Tang, and He Hungmei, neatly arranged in order of sales from most to least. When he left in the early morning, she was still in the office. It seemed that she had been working on this. Zhang Chen asked, you didn't sleep just to sort out this watch? No, this won't take long. I slept for 2 hours and went to Vensan Road. I just came back, Zheng Huiyang said. Zhang Chen asked curiously, why are you going to Vensan Road? Zheng Huiyang was stunned for a moment, and then said, didn't you tell me to look for where to buy computers? Zhang Chen remembered that he had indeed said that to her, and it was his fault that he did not say anything more at that time. You should go and see her when you get up in the afternoon. Zheng Huiyang was a bit stubborn. She went to bed early in the morning and went to bed again without saying anything. Got up and ran out. Zhang Chen quickly said, thank you for your hard work. Have you found it? I found it. It's made in China. I see it has similar performance to this one. It's made by the Great Wall brand. It costs more than 15,000. Oh, that's cheaper than this. Yes, but there is no ready stock. It will take half a month to place an order. Can it be expedited? How do you know, Mr. Zhang? If you add 500 to 1 unit, it can arrive in 3 days. It will be transferred from Shanghai. Zhang Chen smiled. Isn't this the same routine for all goods that are in short supply? Zhang Chen said, then you and the finance department will go and buy 2 units as a matter of urgency. Okay Mr. Zhang, I'll go after dinner. Go to bed after dinner, and then go back when you wake up, Zhang Chen said. Although Zheng Huiyang's eyes were still red, she still said, I have woken up. Zhang Chen knew that there was nothing he could do to stop him. He and Zheng Huiyang said, well, by the way, you can buy 2 more fax machines, go to the Post and Telecommunications office, and apply for 2 more telephones. If the installation of the telephone needs to be urgent, then you can also add more urgent. By the way, buy the best fax machine. Zheng Huiyang said yes. When the 2 of them came back with a fax machine at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Zheng Huiyang told Zhang Chen that the computer had been bought and would be delivered the day after tomorrow to help install it. There was no need to install the phone now. Urgent, but because there are too many people installing it, we have to install it the day after tomorrow, and there is this fax machine. You didn't buy the best, Zhang Chen said. Yes, Mr. Zhang, the 2 of us discussed it and felt that it is not necessary. This more than 4,000 is already very good, Zheng Huiyang said. Zhang Chen just bought a Panasonic for Yan'an Road. The best one costs more than 6,000. Zhang Chen smiled and said, okay, you have the final say. Really Mr. Zhang, the most expensive one may not be. Zheng Huiyang became a little anxious. Zhang Chen quickly said, okay, you are doing the right thing, I will give you another task. Say Mr. Zhang. Didn't I tell you that I would arrange 2 more people for you? You and Director Zhao will recruit these 2 people yourself, Zhang Chen and Zheng Huiyang said. 3 days later, Zhang Chen moved Zheng Huiyang and the 2 newly recruited girls, along with the newly purchased computers, the original set of computers and tag machines, to the showroom. After the showroom opened from the Yan'an Road store, it becomes a finished product warehouse and distribution center. There is no need to use models to display clothes, and there is a lot more space. The 2 fax machines were also installed in the showroom. Zhang Chen stipulated that no one was allowed to use these 2 fax machines to make or receive calls. These 2 fax machines must be kept open 24 hours a day. He Hongmei looked on and asked, what do you want to do? Zhang Chen told her that starting from Chongqing, each of your specialty stores should send their reports here every day. Although He Hongmei didn't know what they were going to do, she still said, okay, it's just a phone call. Zhang Chen and Zheng Huiyang said, you are better at math than me. You know which numbers I need and why I need them. I understand, Mr. Zhang, Zheng Huiyang said, but I have a suggestion. You say. Can we print a batch of reports in one go and ask all stores to fill in only this report every day? Zhang Chen understood, if it weren't for this, the reports submitted from various places might really be all kinds of, and you would have to call back one by one to confirm. Your suggestion is very good. Let's do it this way. You can design the content of the report, Zhang Chen and Zheng Huiyang said. I've already designed it. Zheng Huiyang handed a drawn report to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen added a half-acre field logo on the header of the report and handed it to Lao Wan, asking him to call a printing house to print it urgently. Thank you Zheng Guang Ion Exchange Resin Ping for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Good evening, everybody. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Niang. Chapter 637. But even such a small thing as faxing reports every day is not as simple as He Hongmei said. It sounds right, it is really just a phone call, but when you actually do it, you realize how difficult it is. Fortunately, Zhang Chen and his own franchise stores basically complied with the instructions. There were 2 who were procrastinating and never sent the message. After Zhang Chen called, they also started to send the message. The problem is that general agents in many places do not have this requirement for their subordinates. What's more, Some franchise stores don't even have fax machines and have not met the requirements of their store decoration specifications. In order to develop their business, the general agents also turned a blind eye. Those general agents themselves usually have someone send them faxes according to regulations. When they receive it, they throw it aside. After 2 days, they throw it away as garbage. They don't know what the use is. If you sell clothes, you sell clothes. You need to replenish the goods before sending a fax. If you don't need to replenish the goods, why send a fax? Isn't that a waste of paper? Fax paper is not cheap. For these general agents, someone will pass the report to him. Halfway through, they will see that this thing is not an order, so I just blocked the fax. The general agent is like this, and those who foolishly sent them faxes at first will naturally be too lazy to send them the next day. Now that Zhang Chen and the others have asked for it to be passed on to the company, it's just right. After the general agents made a few calls to inform them, they didn't care whether the other party said yes or no, they felt that they had completed the task and it had nothing to do with them from now on. The franchise stores below have never been to Hangzhou, and they don't even know where the company is. They were not very enthusiastic about spreading the news, and now no one has spread it. Among the more than a dozen general agents across the country, only the stores in Chongqing are in sync with Zhang Chen and others. First, the owners of these stores have been to Hangzhou when the Yan'an Road flagship store opened. They have experienced the atmosphere and know that this company is a very unusual company. Although they don't understand why they need to send reports every day, since the company requires it, then just send them. Isn't it just a phone call away? And He Hongmei is watching. He Hongmei is here every day. She watches Zheng Huiyang and the others work every day, and knows the importance of faxing. Although, comparatively speaking, it is more important to the company, as it can reduce the risk of inventory and master the design. The other direction is to arrange production more rationally. For the general agent, it is not that important. Anyway, if you return the goods that are not easy to sell, we will return them to the company. The final inventory is the company's inventory, not the general agent's inventory. This is also the inventory of other general agents. The reason for not taking this seriously at all. He Hongmei is different from them. Firstly, she has a real relationship with this company and has long regarded herself as a member of the company. Secondly, she understands better than them that no matter how big your store is, you still need to hang it in the store. Isn't it a waste to buy more than half of the clothes that can't be sold? There are best-selling models everywhere. If you have one more best-selling model, won't your turnover increase? You are opening a store to sell clothes, and the purpose is to sell the clothes. You are not running a shipping department. Is it fun to send a bunch of goods to one place and back again, or are you willing to spend the freight? More importantly, He Hongmei knew that the production pressure in the factory was always tight. If half of the production energy was consumed in the production of inventory, wouldn't other clothing be unable to be produced and the supply unable to be guaranteed? So He Hongmei is very supportive of this matter. The franchise stores in Chongqing were uploaded at the beginning, but they were very irregular. Either yesterday's report was uploaded today, or the numbers were wrong. Zheng Huiyang knew there was a problem when she compared the numbers here. When I called, the other party said, oh, I wrote it wrong, it was a light sentence. I was busy here for a long time. What's more, I simply forgot to write down the code of my own store and just sent it over. I don't know which store it is from when I receive it here. I have to take all the codes from other stores and use the elimination method to deduce. What is this? Which one? But if there are 2 or 3 stores doing this at the same time, then you have to call to confirm one by one. He Hongmei scolded those stores and He Dongmei every day. It took more than a week for the entire Chongqing area to correct itself. But other places were still the same as before. Zheng Huiyang and the others called, but those people hung up the phone without even listening. The person who collected their franchise fees and deposits was the general agent. From a business perspective, they also felt that they had nothing to do with the general agent. If it was related, even Zhang Chen couldn't call them directly. He could only call the general agent. These general agents didn't take this matter seriously at first. When they received the call from Zhang Chen, they just said it was okay, Mr. Zhang, don't worry, I'll call them right away. But everything is still the same. Let's fine him, He Hongmei suggested. Isn't there a deposit? I'll fine you directly and the general agent. Zhang Chen thought about it. This might be the only way. He Hongmei and Zheng Huiyang discussed and drafted a notice stipulating that starting from May 1st, all franchise stores must fax reports every day. The report for that day must be submitted no later than 1 a.m. the next day. No omissions are allowed. No random filling is allowed. Anyone who fails to fill in the form in accordance with the regulations will be fined 200 per time. If the notice is not submitted for 1 day, you will be fined 400. All fines will be deducted from the general agent's deposit, and the general agent will deal with the relevant franchise stores on his own. The notification also attached a receipt, requiring each general agent to fill in the receipt and send it back after receiving the notification. After I finished writing the notice, I showed it to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen thought it was very good and signed it. After passing the notice to all the general agents, Zhang Chen, He Hongmei and Zheng Huiyang stared at the fax machine on the table. After a while, the phone rang. The three of them breathed a sigh of relief. The fax machine started to make strange noises after a while. After spitting out the paper, He Hongmei took one look at it and sighed. She looked at Zhang Chen and said, "It's my sister's." Sure enough, after all the receipts were sent, it was He Dongmei who sent it. Throughout the afternoon, when the fax machine rang again, the orders came over again, and except for the model student Chung Qing, there was not a single receipt. Zheng Huiyang and Zhang Chen and He Hongmei said, there are still 4 days before May 1st. If they haven't sent a receipt, it doesn't mean that they won't send it on May 1st. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei glanced at her. He Hongmei smiled bitterly and said, "Little sister, you really don't know the dangers of the world." He Hongmei thought for a moment and said to Zhang Chen, "It's a loss." "What's wrong?" Zhang Chen asked. "I should add a sentence below the previous notice. The return receipt is equivalent to a report and must be returned before 12 o'clock tonight," He Hongmei said. "Then just send it again," Zheng Huiyang said. Zhang Chen thought about it and felt that he should send it out again. From the attitude of the general agents in the past, it can be seen that it is impossible to expect that all stores will operate in accordance with the regulations starting from May 1st, but this matter, again, it must be done. Otherwise, no matter how good your ideas and efforts are, it will be in vain, and it is not the general agents who bear the final result, but you. There are still 4 days before May Day. Now is a weather vane and a testing ground. These 4 days must be used to test the attitudes of these guys and reverse them. Zhang Chen personally worked on it, added the words He Hongmei said to the previous notice, and recirculated it to all general agents. He Dongmei, the model student, was the only one who immediately sent the acknowledgement back. The others seemed to have made an appointment and continued to remain silent collectively. Things are getting serious. Next, every time Zhang Chen came back from going out, he would immediately look at Zheng Huiyang with questioning eyes, and Zheng Huiyang quickly shook her head at him. It's almost 5 o'clock, and all the agents are still silent. After dinner, there was still no movement. When it was almost 10 o'clock in the evening, Xiao Zhao came back with Zhang Xiangbei in his arms, but there was still no movement. The store on Yan'an Road doesn't open until 9 in the morning. Xiao Zhao no longer has to go there very early like in the market. Zhang Chen helped her contact a taxi, the same guy who sent him back to Sanbeo from mid-levels that day. Every morning at 8 at 5:30, this guy would arrive at their door. Xiao Zhao would carry Zhang Xiangbei to the store and take a taxi back in the evening. There is Xiao Zhao's own office there. She has time and place to breastfeed. The stroller is placed next to her. Xiao Zhao also feels more at ease than at the nanny's house. Plus Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan are very close to here. After they get off work at noon and evening, they come over to see Xiao Zhao and Zhang Xiangbei. Xiao Zhao walked in and saw that the three of them were worried. He asked them what was going on. Zhang Chen told her the matter. Xiao Zhao looked at his watch and comforted them. There were still 2 hours left, maybe they would arrive there. At 12 o'clock, it was all sent back. He Hongmei looked at her and said, "Sister, I didn't expect you to be like Xiao Zhang, unaware of the dangers of the world." Zhang Chen and Zheng Huiyang, no matter how worried they were, couldn't help laughing. Xiao Zhao asked He Hongmei, "It's past 10 o'clock, aren't you going back?" He Hongmei said angrily, "I won't reply. I just want to see how my heart dies." Zhang Xiangbei suddenly laughed when he heard this. He Hongmei puffed up her cheeks, stared at him and cursed. "You little rascal, you are so heartless. Don't you even have any sympathy?" The others laughed, and Zhang Xiangbei also laughed even more happily. He Hongmei took him from Xiao Zhao's hands and shouted, "Sell, sell, sell you little rascal." She hugged Zhang Xiangbei and walked out. Zhang Chen asked Xiao Zhao, "How is the store today?" Xiao Zhao nodded and said yes. In the afternoon, Du Banzhang brought some Japanese friends to the store and bought some clothes. If I wanted to give him free shopping, he would definitely refuse. If so, he would not pay for it next time. I don't dare to bring my friends here anymore. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Imagine that he would be like this, very stubborn, it doesn't make sense." Yes, I was almost angry. I had no choice but to listen to him, Xiao Zhao said. Also, in the afternoon, a reporter from the Economic Life Daily came to interview and took a lot of photos in the store. Zhang Chen said yes. That's right, Xiao Zhao remembered it and said to Zhang Chen, "2 people will come to see you this afternoon." "Who is it?" "It's from the Municipal Second Lighting Corporation. Erking head office? I've never dealt with it before. Why are they looking for me?" "I don't know either. I asked them and they didn't say anything. They just said that if you have time, see if you can go to their company." Xiao Zhao said, taking out 2 business cards from his bag and handing them to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen looked at them. One was the secretary of the Municipal Erking Corporation, and the other was the general manager. Zhang Chen was surprised. If the secretary and the general manager came together to find him, what would happen? Being so cautious, it seems that this matter is not a big deal. Zhang Chen put the business card away and he said, "Yes, I will find time to go there tomorrow. Thank you Su Yuinian and Sun Tongfei for your monthly votes. Thank you Tin Soldier, ranked 3rd from top to bottom, reading books every day, and 131 on the shore for your continued rewards. Thank you for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Niang. Chapter 638. He Hongmei came back with Zhang Xiangbei in her arms. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao said, "Shall I send you back first?" Xiao Zhao said, "There is no need to get up early tomorrow. Zhang Xiangbei doesn't need to sleep either. I'm hungry and want to eat the late-night snack from the cafeteria." He Hongmei was chuckling on the side, and she said, "Sister, why don't you just tell me if you want to see me die?" Zhang Chen also knew in his heart that Xiao Zhao didn't want to go back. He said, "Okay then, I'll go to the cafeteria to make whatever you want to eat." "Is twice-cooked pork okay, guo guo?" Xiao Zhao said. He Hongmei shouted from the side, "Strongly request Neng. Neng. Neng." Zhang Chen walked to the staff cafeteria. When the cafeteria master saw Zhang Chen, he laughed and said, "You are lucky, there will be something good tonight." Zhang Chen followed the direction of his finger and saw that it was a snail in a large enamel basin. Zhang Chen also laughed. Factory workers have to work overtime until early in the morning every day, and not many people have breakfast, so their canteen serves late-night snacks as half a meal. The chef in the canteen always has some unexpected food in the middle of the night. He also it seems that I especially enjoy the overjoyed expressions of the workers when they arrive at the canteen. Before the midnight snack was started, Zhang Chen took advantage of this time to fry a plate of twice-cooked pork and a plate of fried snails in sauce. Seeing that today's green peppers were good, he simply fried a plate of tiger skin peppers and put them on a tray. Li Duan went to the exhibition hall, and a helper from the cafeteria brought a bowl of rice and bowls and chopsticks from behind. When Xiao Zhao and He Hongmei saw it, they both cheered. Xiao Zhao invited Zheng Huiyang to eat together. Zheng Huiyang took one look and almost burst into tears. She shouted, "It's too spicy. I'd better go to the cafeteria to eat later." The two fax machines rang almost at the same time. The four people hurried over to take a look. What came out of the fax machine was not a receipt, but the report and order form from each franchise store in various places. After the fax machine rang, it almost didn't stop. At this time, it happened to be the time when each store had finished its night market, closed its doors and counted sales, and was preparing to go home. Zhang Chen and his own franchise stores and those in Chongqing have become accustomed to sending reports as the last job of their day. Zhang Chen, Xiao Zhao and He Hongmei continued to eat. Zheng Huiyang was still staring at the fax machine eagerly. She was hoping that a miracle would happen and a receipt would appear. "The ones from Chongqing are coming," Zheng Huiyang shouted. He Hongmei hurried over to take a look, and she laughed as soon as she saw it. Not bad, Chongqing did more than 28,000 retail sales today, which finally made her feel a little better. They waited until 12:10, but there was still no reply. The four of them looked at each other in shock. He Hongmei said, "Boss, you can't be soft this time, you must kill him hard, otherwise you won't be able to go on." Xiao Zhao and Zheng Huiyang also agreed with He Hongmei's statement. Of course Zhang Chen knows in his heart that if this matter ends here, then you will no longer have to think about passing the report. Not only will this matter not be pushed back, other things will be the same as this matter. If it ends without a cure, the entire system with well-developed roots that I envisioned will only become a piece of loose sand. Zhang Chen agreed not only to process it, but also to process it immediately. He would send the fax immediately so that they would understand when they see the fax early tomorrow morning. We waited until 12 o'clock. The other three people nodded. Zhang Chen immediately drafted a notice, which said, "In order to clarify the seriousness of the franchise authorization, after the company's research and decision, if the regulations are not followed, the return receipt should be faxed to the following general agents of the company before 2400 hours on April 26, 1993, the deposit of RMB 400 will be deducted. Since the original deposit is less than 50,000 yuan after deductions, the following general agents must make up the deposit before 1500 hours on April 27, 1993, and submit a written guarantee to the company. For general agents who have made up the deposit and submitted a written guarantee, our company will suspend shipments until the company's requirements are met." Below is a long list. After reading it, He Hongmei clapped her hands and said, "Yes, it's very resolute. Not delivering goods is the most cruel trick. You have to give in even if you don't give in. Yes, everyone wants to take advantage of May Day to do business, but they are afraid that there will not be enough goods. If you don't deliver the goods, no one will be in a hurry. Put Chongqing first on the list," He Hongmei said. "Why didn't Chongqing send the receipt a long time ago?" Zheng Huiyang asked puzzledly. He Hongmei glanced at her and said, "Little sister, do you understand the bitter meat scheme? Do you think this is the honor list? Everyone is shameless. Who wants to be ranked first on this list? But this is so unfair to Chongqing. Chongqing should be praised, Zheng Huiyang shouted. Little sister, you are such a stubborn person, He Hongmei scolded. Don't send this to He Dongmei, as long as she can't see it. If you want to praise me, write another letter of praise and fax it to He Dongmei. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao both laughed, and Zheng Huiyang suddenly realized. After listening to He Hongmei's words, Zhang Chen hesitated a little. He felt that such a harsh and cold letter would make anyone feel uncomfortable after reading it. After all, we are in a cooperative relationship, and there is no need to get into trouble over such a matter. To Mei Mang, but otherwise, this matter cannot be pushed forward. Zheng Huiyang was ready to send it, and Zhang Chen told her to wait. Why, the boss has become soft-hearted, He Hongmei asked. It's over if you become soft-hearted. Xiao Zheng and the others can also retire. After Zhang Chen thought about it carefully, he told Xiao Zheng to give me the notice and I would write a new one. Zheng Huiyang gave the notice to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen took the paper and pen and wrote a new copy with the same content. He took one to He Hongmei and said, "Come on, you can also help copy 5 or 6 copies of the list. Leave it blank for now and I will teach you how to write it later." The other 3 people didn't know what he was going to do. He Hongmei took a pen and paper and copied it. The 2 of them copied a dozen copies in total. Zhang Chen counted them and put down the pen. Zhang Chen took a copy of He Hongmei's copy and told her, "On this first one, as you said, Chongqing should be written first, and Guo Wentao from Harbin and Ma Ya from Shenyang should not write." He Hongmei followed Zhang Chen's instructions and finished writing the list. Zhang Chen took the list and handed it to Zheng Huiyang, telling her to fax it to Guo Wentao and Ma Ya's shop immediately. Zheng Huiyang passed it on, and Zhang Chen asked He Hongmei to write the second one. He told her that Chongqing was still the first. This time, Zhengzhou should not write, but Harbin and Shenyang. After He Hongmei finished writing, Zhang Chen handed it to Zheng Huiyang and told her to fax this to Zhengzhou. The third one was written by everyone else but not by Beijing. Zhang Chen asked Zheng Huiyang to send it to Beijing. He Hongmei finished writing what he had copied, and Zhang Chen continued to write what he had copied. He Hongmei and Xiao Zhao gradually understood, but Zheng Huiyang became more and more confused as she read. She couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Zhang, if you are like this, you are not receiving it, you are seeing that you are not on the list, so what is the meaning of education and warning?" Xiao Zhao smiled and said, "That's what he wants." He Hongmei looked at Zhang Chen and shook her head, sighing, Master, I thought Jianghu was sinister, but I didn't expect you to be even more sinister than Jianghu." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "It's not you who reminded me." "What did I say? Why did I remind you?" He Hongmei shouted. "You said everyone wants face, so I'll give it to them." Zheng Huiyang became more and more confused as she listened. She raised her voice and asked, but she still said, "What on earth are you talking about?" He Hongmei touched her shoulder. "Come on, little sister, let me ask you, if you are a general agent now, and you receive a stern letter, let's start from the top. When you see the above part, what will happen?" "I would feel ashamed and embarrassed." Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao both laughed. He Hongmei stared at her, then shook her head and said, "It's not your fault, it's my fault. You are too pure. You haven't been polluted by the world. I still think about myself. For example, if I am that Ma Ya, do you think what will happen?" Zheng Huiyang shook her head. "Of course I will be angry. Why do I say such ugly things? Then I see that I am not included in the list below. What will I do? I will turn from anger to joy, knowing that this is not directed at me. Everyone likes to see others being unlucky. As long as something happens, just don't worry about it." She will then think, "I obviously don't have a fax receipt, so why is my name not on it?" "What do you think she will think?" He Hongmei asked. "Did the company miss it?" Zheng Huiyang said. Zhang Chen, Xiao Zhao, and this time even he Hung Mei couldn't help it, and laughed wildly. Zheng Huiyang was puzzled by their laughter, her face turned red, and she asked, "Isn't it?" "Okay, little sister, if you say yes, if you say I don't, Ma Ya, will think that this is Boss Zhang trying to save face for me. It means that the relationship between Boss Zhang and me is different from the people on the list. I feel like this is giving me a lot of face." Zheng Huiyang finally understood. She said, "Oh, is this what Mr. Zhang said about making faces for them? Understand. Understood. Boss Zhang has given me so much face, do I have to repay him?" Zheng Huiyang nodded desperately, and asked, "But why is it that only one person wrote the others, and the ones for Guo Wentao and Ma Ya were written by neither of them? The two of them are like a family. When they receive this, they will definitely call each other. If one of them has his name on it, doesn't that mean they are gang members? There are neither. At worst, they will think that Boss Zhang is treating them both. Everyone is treated specially." At around 8 o'clock the next morning, Zhang Chen received a call from Ma Ya. As soon as the call came through, Ma Ya said to him, "Brother Zhang, it's like this. I had something to do at home yesterday and didn't go to the store all day. The salesperson received the fax. These idiots didn't know how to call me and didn't reply. I didn't see it until I came here, and I made them cry." Zhang Chen quickly said, "I know, I've told people in the company that I can't guarantee that you and Brother Guo will support our work. Of course, don't worry, Brother Zhang. Starting from May Day, I promise to take care of everything for you." "Okay, thank you." After a while, Guo Wentao called Zhang Chen, and the content was similar. Before 10 o'clock, all the general agents called Zhang Chen. For various reasons, they were not in the store yesterday or did not see the fax. At noon, finance told Zhang Chen that except for Chongqing, every general agent had remitted 400 yuan. Zheng Huiyang said, however, none of them had a written guarantee by fax. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, starting from May Day, you will receive reports from every store in the country. You should be prepared and buy a few more boxes of fax paper." Zhang Chen felt that he had finally unblocked the blocked meridians, and his entire body could operate normally as he hoped. "Thanks for the half-drunk tip. Thank you to Uncle Wang Pacino, it's hard to be depressed, and Sun Boshan for your monthly votes. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy mood. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 639. The store on Yan'an Road was in operation for more than a month. Lao Wan and the maintenance team went there, and the factory construction site was delayed for more than a month. After returning, due to the sudden increase in customers, the daily shipment volume was huge. By the way, half of the maintenance team's energy is spent on shipping and delivery. Several masters were sent by Zhang Chen to guide the decoration of franchise stores in various places. Zhang Chen himself really couldn't spare the time. After all, these masters had decorated the Yan'an Road store and were very familiar with all craftsmanship, especially Zhang Chen's. "I understand all the requirements and can also understand on the phone. Unlike those chefs hired by franchise stores, they are all locals. First of all, they have difficulty speaking Mandarin." Some of the things Zhang Chen said were even more confusing. Zhang Chen talked for a long time, but the other party still didn't understand. The situation improved after the master came to provide guidance. At least the two parties could communicate. Lao Wan took the rest of the people and went to the construction site to do some work whenever they had time. Zhang Chen had changed his mind now. The financial pressure was gone. They no longer planned to build one floor, but 3 houses. The entire building was completed one building at a time. Lao Wan didn't dare to add more people for the time being. Those decoration projects were all short-term. It couldn't be said that the masters came back from a business trip and found that their jobs were gone. Zhang Chen's energy was mainly spent on bringing in 2 new designers, as well as how to adapt to the sudden increase in market, sales, production, and rationalizing the entire network. As for the project, don't rush now, we are done. Let's talk about it this time, just let it rot there first. For Zhang Chen, the most urgent thing now seems to be the current showroom. He feels that it is urgent to separate the design center and distribution center in his mind. The designers and sample workers should go to another place, and the design center and the distribution center in his mind should be separated. Here, it is completely left to Zheng Huiyang and the others. With these 3 of them, plus warehouse management and transportation, this distribution center is complete. But the other place where designers and sample workers should go is still in the air. When will it be surrounded by walls and a roof above its head? Zhang Chen doesn't know. He feels that his whole being is surrounded by things now. Everything is important and urgent, and should be done immediately, but he just can't do anything right away. The big brother in Zhang Chen's butt pocket rang, and he picked it up. It was Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao told Zhang Chen that Mr. Nai called again and asked when he could meet with you. Which Mr. Nai? Oh, I told you last night, the one from Erking head office. Zhang Chen remembered the 2 business cards Xiao Zhao gave him yesterday. One was Mr. Nai, the general manager of Erking Corporation, and the other was a secretary named Bao, Secretary Bao. If Xiao Zhao hadn't said anything, Zhang Chen would have forgotten these 2 people long ago. What's wrong? Zhang Chen said. What's wrong? You are really. Xiao Zhao said half of what he said but did not continue. Zhang Chen understood. Xiao Zhao wanted to say that he now makes promises easily and forgets them quickly. He Hung Mei also mentioned this problem of his. Zhang Chen thought about it for himself. That's indeed what happened. Nowadays, when people talk to him about something, he doesn't know whether he is busy or uneasy. He always responds casually before others have finished speaking, saying, okay, 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 or just wait until the afternoon or tomorrow. But in the afternoon or tomorrow, others would no longer mention this matter to him, and he would have completely forgotten about it. He agreed to it at that time, as if it was just to deal with them. He Hung Mei said to him seriously, Master, do you know that it's not good for you to do this? It's easy to accidentally hurt others. Okay, okay, I'll change it right away. Zhang Chen hurriedly said. After saying that, he saw He Hung Mei staring at him and pointing a finger at him. Again? Say it again. Zhang Chen didn't say anything more, but smiled sheepishly. I told them that you promised to go there today, Xiao Zhao said. Okay, I'll go over now, Zhang Chen said. Where is their company? Oh, I remembered, it's upstairs in the Erking building, right? I'll go over now. Erking building is also on Yan'an Road, not far from their store. Diagonally opposite, the first and second floors of the building are department stores, and Hangcheng Building, Hangbei International Building, Gonglian Commercial Building, Overseas Chinese Building, Xintianlong Shopping Mall, Supply and Marketing Building, Jibei, and Tianyuan were also known as the top 10 shopping malls in Hangzhou at that time. Zhang Chen parked his bicycle in the parking lot of the building, entered through a side door next to the mall, and took the elevator to the 6th floor. The door of the general manager's office was open, and a fat man about 50 years old was sitting in front of the desk, looking down at a newspaper. Zhang Chen knocked on the door twice and walked in. The man raised his head and looked at him. Zhang Chen asked, "Hello, are you Mr. Nai?" The other party nodded and said, "I am. May I ask who you are?" "I am Zhang Chen." "Zhang Chen. Half-acre field, you went to our store yesterday to look for me." "Oh, Hello, hello, Mr. Zhang. When Mr. Nai heard this, he quickly put down the newspaper in his hand, stood up and shook hands with Zhang Chen, but he still had some doubts in his eyes. He looked at Zhang Chen, then turned to look at the newspaper on the table. The newspaper was Hangzhou from many days ago. City Daily, there was a report about half an acre of land. Zhang Chen understood. He saw a picture of Lu Ligan in the newspaper. Zhang Chen quickly said, "The reporter made a mistake. This is a friend of mine. He came from Hainan to attend our opening ceremony." The reporter mistakenly thought he was me. As Zhang Chen spoke, he took out his business card holder from his pocket, took out one of his own business cards and handed it to Mr. Nai. Mr. Nai took it in his hand and looked at it. Then he was relieved, laughed, and cursed. Now that there are more newspapers, reporters are becoming less and less dedicated, and such a big mistake will happen. Zhang Chen followed and smiled. Mr. Nai asked Zhang Chen to sit on the sofa, poured a cup of tea for Zhang Chen, and then waved his hand to indicate a moment. He returned to the desk, picked up the phone receiver on the table, and pressed a few numbers. And it says, "Old Bao, Mr. Zhang, who owns half an acre of land, is here." Mr. Nai put down the phone and walked back to the sofa. Before he sat down, a man came in from outside the door. He was also about 50 years old and very thin. He was in perfect contrast with Mr. Nai. When he saw Zhang Chen, he was stunned for a moment, then looked at Mr. Nai, who smiled and said, "The reporter made a mistake. That was Mr. Zhang's friend. This is the real Mr. Zhang Chen." Zhang Chen knew that this person must be Secretary Bao, so he quickly stood up, took out his business card and handed it over. "Hello, Secretary Bao, this is my business card." Secretary Bao accepted it with a smile. Mr. Nai and Zhang Chen said, "Mr. Zhang, let me tell you a joke first. Don't mind. When we came back yesterday, we were also wondering why the photos in the office were different from those in the newspaper. Haha, I was embarrassed to ask more questions. Today all the answers are there." Zhang Chen also laughed, knowing that the photo in the office that Mr. Nai was talking about was a photo of himself, Xiao Zhao and Zhang Xiangbei on Xiao Zhao's desk. Secretary Bao looked at Zhang Chen and said, "Mr. Zhang is still young and promising, and can create such a big scene. We went to your place yesterday afternoon to visit and study, and we all admired it. Logically speaking, in that store, during that afternoon, it's not Sunday, so it should be very deserted, but there are still so many people. Yes, yes, it is very inspiring to us." Mr. Nai sighed. "By the way, Mr. Zhang, I heard that this store on Yan'an Road is your own." Zhang Chen is right. "We also heard that the clothes in there are also produced by you yourself." Zhang Chen nodded and said, "Most of them, but a small part, are from franchise partners." "Mr. Zhang, where is your own factory?" Secretary Bao asked. "Three castles." "How many workers are there?" "There are about 140 sewing workers. Including back-end ironing, cutting, logistics, finance, etc., the total number is more than 210, excluding the personnel in the Yan'an Road store." "Mr. Zhang, let me take the liberty to ask, what is your sales? I read in the newspaper that you seem to be withdrawing from the wholesale market. In the clothing industry, you are the first company in the province to implement a franchise chain operation," Mr. Nai interjected. Zhang Chen said, "Yes, we are now all through our own sales network. We have 14 general agents across the country. In addition to this flagship store in Hangzhou, we have sales offices in Beijing, Shenyang, Harbin, Chongqing, Zhengzhou, etc. There are 14 main stores in the land, and below the main store, there are more than 450 specialty stores in various cities and counties." Mr. Nai was surprised, "So many? Can you be busy with production?" Zhang Chen shook his head, "I'm so busy that I have to rush for goods every day. Then how do you solve the contradiction between production and sales now? Secretary Bao asked. $2, one is for the few partners who have joined. They used to have 1 or 2 people working on it, but now there are more than 10 or 20 people working in each company. This has relieved some of our pressure, and the other thing is, in addition to our own factory, we now have 6 or 7 processing plants producing for us, which are our designated partners, adding more than 200 vehicles. Zhang Chen sighed softly, but even so, I'm still very busy. Mr. Nai and Secretary Bao looked at each other. Zhang Chen felt that both of them seemed to be relieved and smiled unnoticeably. All right. Mr. Nai gently patted his thigh with his hand, looked at Zhang Chen and said, Mr. Zhang, let's not beat around the bush anymore. Let's open the skylight and speak openly. Our Secretary Bao and I went to your place yesterday. In fact, we went to your place specifically. We went to inspect it, and we just wondered if we could cooperate. Cooperation for what? Zhang Chen was a little confused. Under our Erking Corporation, there is a Kuning garment factory. I won't hide it from you, Mr. Zhang. The efficiency in the past 2 years has been very poor. It has been severely affected by the market. We would like to ask you, can we turn this factory into a factory, next? Mr. Nai finally made it clear, but Zhang Chen was confused. Merger, what kind of merger is this? Just like when the Yu Opera Troupe was disbanded and half of the people were merged into the Wu Opera Troupe. Zhang Chen remembered that the result was strong opposition from the Wu Opera Troupe. In the end, only Lao Yang came in. The others went to the Cultural Bureau on 135 and the county government on 246. A Yu Opera Troupe became a coloratura blocker. The regiment, it is said, even the county magistrate would flee when he saw them. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 640. Mr. Nai asked Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, can we visit your factory now? Although Zhang Chen was reluctant, he still said of course, welcome. The 3 people went downstairs, and there was a Nissan van waiting for them at the door downstairs. They got in the car, and the driver arrived at Sanbao's factory under the guidance of Zhang Chen. The 3 people got out of the car. Mr. Nai and Secretary Bao saw the construction site they were building and asked Zhang Chen, are you planning to expand the factory here? Zhang Chen said yes. This side is a 4-story factory building, and the one over there is a 5-story building. They are all dormitories and office buildings. The sideways side is a 2-story building, and the first floor is a distribution center. The second floor is the design center. After your factory is built, how many sewing machines do you plan to have? Asked Mr. Nai. More than 1,000, Zhang Chen said. Both Mr. Nai and Secretary Bao were startled and stopped ringing. As the 3 people spoke, they walked into the office. Mr. Nai and Secretary Bao looked at the renderings on the wall and saw the future of this land. Zhang Chen told them, there is no way. The factory is too busy with production now and cannot stop for a day. We can only move here and there, producing and constructing at the same time. It is a mess. Pretty good, pretty good. Mr. Nai and Secretary Bao both said that they were thinking, what are they afraid of? Only by punching randomly can they kill the master. This factory is full of life at first glance, unlike their own Kuning garment factory, which is so alive that it is not just because of them. He was beaten so hard that he almost lost his last breath. The workers in the factory had already started working. Zhang Chen took Mr. Nai and Secretary Bao to look at each workshop. They walked to the cutting room and saw that there were layers of fabric as thick as an upright brick on the cutting bed. Nai, I always ask Zhang Chen, how many pieces of clothes are there? This board is 420 pieces, Zhao Zhigang said beside him. Then how long will it take for your workshop to produce this plate? Mr. Nai asked, thinking that Zhao Zhigang would answer in 1 to 2 months. Zhao Zhigang told him, For summer clothes, we have to cut at least 3 panels a day. Have you finished the production? Mr. Nye asked. Of course, our cutting machine is very busy. If the goods are not needed that day, we can't even cut them, Zhao Zhigang said with a blushing face. Both Mr. Nye and Secretary Bao were shocked, but they both thought that this young man was bragging about not drafting, so no wonder he was blushing. They then walked to the back workshop and saw a mountain of clothes piled on the table. 2 buttonholing machines imported from Japan and 3 buttoning machines were busy at all times. They wondered, could it be Mr. Zhang? I have already called back to the factory. Are all these clothes piled up on purpose for you to see? They then went to the sewing workshop. Rows of fluorescent lamps were on in broad daylight, illuminating the entire workshop with almost no shadow. The music played in the speakers hanging in the corner was louder than the sound of the machines. Many of the lights were on. The workers were singing along while working and seemed to be in good spirits. After seeing 1, 2, 3, and 4 workshops, both people's faces turned pale. They didn't know how many times they had been to Kuning Garment Factory. They thought they knew the garment factory very well, but they didn't know until they got here. It turns out that a piece of clothing can be made so quickly. They randomly asked a few workers, and they found that they had to complete more than 20 pieces of short-sleeved shirts in a day, and the most they could complete was 38 pieces. Calculating this, the young man was really not bragging. There were mountains of clothing piled up in the back aisle, which is completely normal for people. Zhang Chen saw 2 people whispering and shaking their heads as they talked. Zhang Chen accidentally heard a few words, a month is not worth 1 day, there is no way, it's like the new society and the old society, 1 day at a time. When they walked to the showroom, they were very interested in the work of Zheng Huiyang and the others. They were impressed by the imported tagging machine and said that there was no way, it was more advanced than the one in our mall. Mr. Nye even considered that their mall was, isn't it time to get into a machine like this? They looked at the computers and didn't know what they were, let alone what they were used for. Zhang Chen explained to them that these are computers. Through them, we can count every day and know the latest inventory of each store. When will it be new? Mr. Nye asked. Last night, Zhang Chen said, tomorrow morning, I will know the sales and inventory of each store today. So fast. Secretary Bao was surprised. He was an old financial person in shopping malls. He knew that just a few years ago, they still had to close for a day at the end of every month to conduct inventory. On that day, when the stores were closed, a sign saying today would be hung on the door. Although there is no need to close the store for a day now, the monthly inventory still requires a lot of effort. You mean, just by being here, you can know the daily sales and inventory of every store in the country? Mr. Nye asked. Zhang Chen nodded and said yes. How did you do it? Zhang Chen explained to him that each store would fax the report every night and they would input it into the computer. With so many stores, such a huge amount of data and workload, just the 3 of them, Mr. Nye asked in disbelief. If you do it every day, the workload is not heavy. The computer will calculate automatically, no need for manual calculation, Zheng Huiyang said loudly. Secretary Bao also discovered that they had neither an abacus nor a calculator in sight. Zhang Chen and Zheng Huiyang said, show the figures for the entire Suzhou to the 2 leaders. Okay, Mr. Zhang. Mr. Nye and Secretary Bao saw this girl put a red plastic flat square plate into the computer, clicked the button, and a report appeared on the screen, and the row of buttons below clicked one by one. What comes out is a report for each store. All styles, how many pieces are purchased every day, how many pieces are sold, and how many pieces are in stock are all clear at a glance. You can even call up the numbers for any day at will, and you can also call up the sales and inventory of a style every day from the day it was put on the shelves to the present. After walking out of the exhibition hall, Mr. Nye and Secretary Bao both sighed and said they had seen something. Mr. Nye and Zhang Chen said, "Mr. Zhang, we invite you to visit our factory again." Secretary Bao muttered, taking it as a joke. Zhang Chen quickly said, "Yes, I will also go to Big Brother's factory to study." The three of them got on the bus. Mr. Nai told the driver to go to Kuning. Kuning Garment Factory is on Stadium Road, next to the Hangzhou oil refinery. In the 1950s and 1960s, more than a dozen quilt factories in various districts of Hangzhou that made quilt covers and pillowcases found an open space next to the oil refinery and concentrated them there. At the same time, a collectively owned Kuning garment factory was established. The word Kuning represents the heroes of various clothing factories. In the 1970s, Kuning Garment Factory was also very popular, not only because of the Zihua brand quilt tops and Beiwa brand silk shirts they produced, which were sold all over the country. It's also because they have a women's basketball team. In the annual Hangzhou Factory and Mining Enterprise basketball-friendly competition, even large corporate teams such as Hangzhou Steel, Hangzhou Oxygen, and Hangbo have been defeated by them and won the championship repeatedly. It became a trump card of the ranking system at that time. But since the early 1980s, Kuning Garment Factory has been celebrating the Chinese New Year. The reason is that there are more and more varieties of clothing in shopping malls. With the rise of clothing wholesale markets in various places, the clothing on both sides of the road has become worse. Stores are also popping up like mushrooms after a rain. One after another, consumers seem to no longer recognize any old brands. What they pay more attention to is the style and price of clothing. Kuning Garment Factory has nothing that can compete with others. Gradually, they live by supplying only those middle-aged and elderly shirts, menstrual belts, and large floral cotton pants to various large shopping malls that are looked down upon by the wholesale clothing market. That was it, and it didn't last long. The market for middle-aged and elderly clothing was also discovered. More and more brands specializing in middle-aged and elderly clothing appeared in shopping malls. Those clothes were colorful and brighter than the clothes of young people. But now middle-aged women and old ladies seem to like this style more and more. The leaders of Kuning Garment Factory feel like they are getting dizzy. Their flagship product, the menstrual belt, is no longer used by many people. It seems that fewer and fewer people are wearing those large floral cotton pants. They are the same cotton pants, made by people in Yuwu, and cost 3 or 4 yuan a piece. The workers at Kuning Garment Factory felt that the cost was not enough no matter how much they calculated. There are more than 100 workers in the garment factory who cannot even get paid, not to mention that in addition to the current workers, there are also a large number of retired workers whose wages and medical expenses are even less secure. If you don't have a place to live, you come to the company to make trouble, go to the factory to make trouble, and even start fights with the current workers in the factory. The current workers scold you that they can't even get their own wages, so how can they still give money to you old immortals? The workers in the factory can only receive half of their normal wages. This makes them even more panic-stricken. They think that once they retire, they will have the same fate as them. Who will have the energy to work? For a while, Mr. Nai also contacted the foreign trade company to see if he could transform into foreign trade. But when someone came to take a look, he said that if he wanted to do foreign trade, first all the machinery and equipment in the factory would have to be replaced. Otherwise, foreigners would come over and take a look. It can't pass either. If you just calculate it, it will cost hundreds of thousands to replace the equipment. Forget it. The market is active. After various wholesale markets came into being, a variety of shops opened on the streets, and township and village enterprises and private enterprises appeared one after another. The biggest impact was on their second light system. There was almost no factory that was not robbed of its sales. People are not poached and their way of living is not blocked. For example, Kuning Garment Factory has not just one company, but more than 30 companies. Their Erking building has achieved good results in the past few years, but it is an independent accounting unit. The money turned over to the head office is not enough for the head office to subsidize these dozens of troubled units every year. Mr. Nye and Secretary Bao, the leaders of their head office, are troubled by this problem every day, and the city government also sees their difficulties. But what's the use of just looking at it? Money is still needed to find a way out for these factories. If you don't have money, you can only find a way out without money. Fortunately, the policies from top to bottom are good. As long as you can solve the problem, any method can be used. It's not that our thoughts need to be more liberated and our pace needs to be faster. Mr. Nye and Secretary Bao found Zhang Chen's way out of Kuning garment factory. To find a way out is not to throw away the burden, but to find a way for all workers in the factory, including retired workers, to provide them with something to rely on when they grow old. Only in this way can we reduce the pressure on society and the government, and also reduce the pressure on Erking Corporation itself. Pressure. The car drove past the provincial stadium, turned around before reaching the gate of the refinery, and drove in through an inconspicuous iron gate. Zhang Chen didn't know how many times he had walked through Stadium Road. He never knew there was a Kuning garment factory here. Only when he arrived at the door today did he realize that it turned out to be the iron characters on the iron gate. The words Kuning garment factory had long been rusty. Ban ban, it's hard to tell when you walk to the door, let alone ride on the sidewalk outside.